from Victoria, the Mornington Peninsula, and yeah, we kind of started Sunday Lemonade as just a way to holiday in a sense. Went from there. We kind of for 2 months we're like, oh, this last 2 months that's awesome, like travel around, and then all of a sudden it was a couple of years later, and then we started taking it a bit seriously, and we're like, well, we're doing this.
Oh, we can actually do music. All right, cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
How did you pick your sound? Because you guys are unique.
I don't even think we picked it.
No.
It just kind of happened. It started off busking, and we were both playing guitar at the time. Tyson's a seasoned vocalist, has been doing it for a really long time. I was a timid, sad girl singer-songwriter when we first began.
Hard to believe.
I know.
Yeah.
And I guess because we're both optimistic, bubbly people by nature, it's just kind of formed into this thing. We started off busking, and yeah, then I don't know. I guess we needed to draw people's attention in. So we started getting a little more bouncy, a little more bubbly, and all of a sudden Tyson was playing a chopping board.
and so is that natural? Like, do you feel yourselves that you are as bubbly as the persona you put on stage?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is that just because you're happy, or like, is there a drug that you bring over from Mornington? Like what is this?
Yeah, we just bring a big we just fill up our water tank and we just keep drinking the water.
There's got to be some stories in there. I'm keen to hear, like, what are the highlights?
Well, we got to support Thirsty Merc, which was huge. And then we've jumped on tour with 1920.
Yeah. Have I seen you've been doing some singing with them on stage as well?
I've been super lucky, and Kane flicked me a message the night before a show and said, hey, how do you feel about singing this part? And I was like, oh my God, I've never done anything like that before. I would love to. And so it's just kind of been a thing now. If we're in the same place and I'm lucky enough that they're singing that song on that night.
So good.
Totally. Like,
I'm just in like crying, proud of
was it the ESPY you did with 1920? Yeah. Like that must have felt like a different caliber.
Just so excited to play at the ESPY with them. Like, it all started from just a little it was a comment on Facebook. They announced this show, and then we actually just commented being like, hey, that's pretty convenient. Our van's going to be parked out the front of the ESPY that night.
But did you feel like you had support from the crowd? Like, you would have had some people in your corner, surely.
Oh, that was insane. The crowd was reacting to us like we were the headliner.
That's so wild to me to even be put in the same category as 1920, because we've watched their show now I don't know how many times, and I am floored every single time. And the biggest fan. I'm in there boogieing around, having the time of my life. They are out of this world.
Yeah. Let's bring it back to my beautiful WA, and you guys, I don't know, like, you tell me, like, you took out the Nanup, I think, Emerging Artist Award or something like that a few years ago, but you guys like have an incredible following in the Southwest WA.
It's crazy, because like we do feel the most supported down here than anywhere else in Australia, I'd say. I think a lot of that happened. We came over, we booked a tour during COVID, and we're like, let's get out of the East. We booked this 2 month tour. The moment we crossed the border, they closed the border.
Right.
And then we lived here for 9 months. And
right.
I don't know, I guess we're sharing that story a lot when we're playing. Like, we played heaps.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that a lot. And so it feels like a home because we lived here for a while.
And
people adopted us in for sure.
Yeah, I can understand that. Like, you would, I mean, you guys just do fit in very naturally, I think, with the Southwest. But like, it can't be all, chocolates and roses. What has been the toughest part of this year?
We used to share a lot of honesty on our page. And at the moment, and I was just thinking about this morning, is like, I've got a couple of things I do want to share about some things, but it's really hard when you're in the middle of a tour and you've got to promote shows, and you feel like you can only post one thing a day, and you don't want to be a downer because you want to hype up these shows. You don't want, and it's actually, that in itself is a challenging thing. I love it when people are honest and transparent, and that's how I like to be as much as possible, and it is hard to show that.
because kind of putting honesty on hold, because you know it's not going to resonate as we think with social media in particular. Like for yourself, that can be hard to kind of swallow.
I mean, I think we have some real nuggets of honesty in our show. As we both deal with highs and lows, mental health all over the place at times. I have a bunch of chronic health things that I go through the roller coaster of. And then on top of all that, you're trying to navigate everything and make it all work fluently. I don't know if that's the right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But like, you know, we're applying for all sorts of festivals, applying for support spots. As you said, social media is just the little tip of the iceberg. It's just the stuff that we do get into. There's all the stuff that you don't get into and don't go through with. And and then also on top of that, we're living in a van together.
Yes.
Really compacted.
Yeah. Now you hit a really interesting point there too. Like, you know, you see the success, like Thirsty Merc, 1920, amazing tour over WA, you know, some huge shows, but like the rejection, like, you know, because like as musicians, we apply for like, maybe not thousands, but lots and lots of gigs. And if you don't ask the question, like no one's picking up the phone to call me, that's for sure. Right. But, you know, how do you guys deal with that? How do you guys deal with those notices that come back and say, hey, like you weren't picked this time? There was an overwhelming supply of applicants and the caliber was really good this year.
We have a secret code word for it.
Right.
Every time we get an email of rejection, we're like, oh, there's juicy pineapple. Trying to keep it, you know, keep it lighthearted or something. It's like, so you're not, because it used to hurt at first. That rejection hurt so much, but I think you just get used to it. You're like, oh, you can't fit everywhere all the time, but you can't.
On top of the world when we get into a festival or have landed a cool support.
The biggest thing I've learned is you have these like dream venues you want to play, and you could push so hard, and I feel like the harder you push for something, and then you finally get it, and then you hype it up and it doesn't work out too well, compared to finding where you're actually valued.
Yes, gotcha.
So we go back there because they really want us there, and we feel so welcome and appreciated. We get there, staff's wearing our merch that day, and like all these things, and you're just like, how could this be bad for the soul right now? Like,